What is up, YouTubers, gamers, and hobbyists out there? Welcome to RPG Kickstart. And in this video, I just want to talk about the RPG social contract. Now, before you click off, I know I've done this before in RPG games. I've covered the social contract, and I've covered other videos. Sorry, by other people have covered the social contract. But if you're new to this, you haven't seen any of the other stuff, then you might have come across this playlist first. So it's just a couple of points on the social contract, really. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by a social contract is a set of conditions that you and your group agree upon beforehand, before you start to play the game, before you begin role playing, and ascertain what the boundaries are, what the house rules are for a game, not just the game itself, but for playing sessions in general, whether it's, your home or maybe a local club or a cafe or wherever it may be, your friend's house, it doesn't matter. So, and in no particular order, I want to suggest the first one, organizing the right game for the right people. So before you start to play, you need to organize the right game for the right people, and that also means the right people for you. Now, sadly, in this day and age, and yeah, I do mean sadly, yeah, I do. But sadly, in this day and age, it's not really the greatest idea to run a game for strangers. The world has changed. In other words, know your audience. And if you want to get the best out of your gaming sessions, know them quite well, I would, so that you know not just what triggers them in game situations, but what excites them as well. And that way you'll be able to tailor your games accordingly. And we might come back to that a bit later, or even in another video. But yeah, just bear that in mind, okay? So the next point on this social contract, if you agree to participate in a game, then for God's sake, turn up. There's nothing worse than waiting for someone to turn up who said they're turning up and they don't, and you phone calls, emails, text, whatever, only to find out, no, so-and-so's not coming. And that's an incredible amount of extra work for everyone involved. Well, there's more work involved on the part of the storyteller or the game master or the dungeon master or whoever, whatever it is, the game mother. But for the other players, it's time wasting. It's taking away time that they could have been enjoying in the game. Nothing worse than waiting for people to show up when people arrive. And if you're going to arrive on time, or early. Best, if you're going to turn up, please show up early if you can. Get the social interaction out the way. Because there's usually, when you turn up for a game, particularly a role-playing game, there's usually a kind of a banter period beforehand where, especially if it's people, well, and hopefully you do know them well, but you get to, and especially if you're older too, you catch up on the week's events or what happened at the weekend or whatever, and you get all that banter out of your system and that catch-up time. And again, if someone's late, they then tend to go through that again when they get there, stopping play for everyone else. Now, not everyone will go through this, but it could waste an hour or more of your gaming time. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing worse, right? So the next point on my social contract at the RPG table is mobile phones. Now, this is a tricky and subjective one, and I appreciate that, especially those of you that are on call. It might be the only way you get to play a game that way, but you're on call, or you have a sick relative in hospital or something, and your phone is on, loud or whatever. But other than for emergency situations such as that, for work or hospital or something, I recommend turning your mobiles to silent, if you can't turn them off. Ideally, no mobiles, but it's understandable. In this day and age, people just can't detach, so they've got to have the technology. There are some people out there that can do without it, particularly for a gaming session, so I encourage you to uphold that if you can. But like I say, it's perfectly understandable. There are exceptions to the rules, or exceptions to every rule, isn't there? But you know, if you have to have to get the phone on loud for whatever reason, then at least make sure it's a worthy cause. Things like hogging the limelight, rules, lawyers, etc. I tend to cover this in house rules. After all, we're all hopefully sensible, mature enough to deal with this one. So how you cope with it would probably be best covered in its own video, how to cope with things like that. But there are many great videos out there already that cover topics such as that. I recommend a channel called Seth Skorkowski. If you don't know him already, he's got loads of videos on that kind of thing. Head on over there and check it out. Now, as adults, even the most innocent of games can become more mature in, you know, content and direction. That aside, though, there are many games that either have or should have mature content warnings. Games such as Alien, Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade, you know, Werewolf the Apocalypse, games of that ilk. You know, the sort of thing I'm talking about. And there are many, many others as well. I believe exploration of mature topics in games is a valid trait. It's not to say it isn't problematic when the topic arises. It just depends, I think, on how you approach it. There are many different ways. And of course, once again, it helps to know your audience. Okay. Vampire the Masquerade addresses it perfectly by asking, why are you telling us this? You know, well, someone at your table may not be as familiar with the games as the others, the content or the themes as you are, or the rest of you are. But perhaps by knowing a little about them, this will equip you with the knowledge you need to push the whole horror experience to its limits without triggering anyone. And so it will enable you to be more player considerate. Remember, it's just a game, but at the same time, you need to be having fun. And that brings me on to the last point I want to make on this particular video. There are many more to social contracts and that, but these are the main ones, I think. But the final one for me, really, and the most important one, is make sure you have fun. If you're not having fun, why are you there? Why are you doing it? It is a game, and it is to have fun. So just relax and enjoy yourselves. That's my advice on that one. So that's my few brief points on the social contract. And social contracts can change over time and be tweaked as and when necessary. So, but you get the general gist. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching and listening. I'll see you on another one. Bye for now. Bye-bye.